This is the 126th episode of CloudFocus Weekly for the second to last week of February. This episode is titled Pixel Imperfect. CloudFocus Weekly is sponsored by Arkus, your cloud computing experts. I'm your host, Jason Howard, and joining me for the 126th time, co-host Justin Edelstein. Justin, how are you doing?
Better than the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, you can have a little life to you today?
A little life.
You're not going to be the...
Got a little juice.
I don't know.
Come on, I'm already in a smile. I got a smile on my face.
It's good. The podcasting audience.
Friday afternoon.
Yeah, it's a tough afternoon.
Nice afternoon.
No, tough. I mean...
What's wrong?
Just...
Tell me your problems.
No, Fridays are just long. Fridays are the end of the week. They are... If I'm a battery, I'm at 15% on the end of the Friday.
You seem to recharge, though, on Saturday pretty quick.
I do.
Because Saturday comes and boom, I wake up and there's 13 emails from Jason. Like, wait, I just woke up. I have 13 emails.
I overcharge on Friday nights. And since the gold rush season finale.
Oh, 2 hours tonight live. Can't wait.
I will be recharged.
All right. You think they're gonna get to $1 million? For those who are listening who don't watch Gold Rush, you should watch Gold Rush.
I don't know. We'll leave that to our Gold Rush podcast.
I don't think they're going to make it, but all right.
I think they are because I think it's only them that can make it. The other two can't make it, so it has to be
only
them.
the Hoffman crew.
But they've been pulling out 115 per episode.
And it was hard to tell how many cleanouts they had left. They made it seem like they only had
two
one,
episodes
but it
then the
seemed
last final, so I have them TiVo'd.
Oh, okay.
All right, let's move on.
Let's go.
We have some stuff.
Not cloudy.
We have some stuff to talk about. There are clouds in Alaska.
CloudFocus Weekly.
Oh, there's not in Alaska. So we have a blog post of the week, which we'll talk about. Google, in a surprising move, releases two big pieces of hardware this week. We'll talk about that. And then we have some sort of, why consumers don't like tweeting customer service and why you should ban internal emails. And we'll discuss both of those things, and then we'll make our CloudFocus app pick of the week. I want to say that next week we're going to go to Salesforce is holding an event that's been publicized all over, so I don't think it's like a private event anymore.
It was.
So now we're going to go to that next week. I think it's next Tuesday. So next podcast next week we'll be coming back and talking about that and other Salesforce
about
things.
The Mark Benioff keynote.
Yes.
The new refreshed customer company keynote.
Yes. So this week on blog.arkusinc.com, the blog post, still after 2 years, I'm still doing the same thing.
Still doing it.
Maybe almost 3 years of podcasting, is how to report on Salesforce notes and attachments. So this is a how-to blog post.
I like how-tos.
Yep.
I'm big on them.
And this one's really about, as you know, if you're a Salesforce admin out there in the world or a prospect, you should know, you cannot report on notes and attachments. There's no reporting mechanism for them. And a lot of people ask us, why should I put things into one or the other, or how should I should I put things into notes? And they usually say, should I put meeting notes in the notes? And I say, no, don't do that, because then you won't be able to report on it. You should put it into the comments in the on the activity. But some people still want to report on notes. And so this is a blog post about how to do it. I'm not really going to go over how to do it because it is a how-to. It does involve a little bit of heavy lifting.
There's some lifting, some third-party tools. It addresses an idea on the Idea Exchange that has 12,500 points.
That's a lot.
Reporting on notes and attachments, which was posted more than a year ago and has quite a few, 190 comments, 1,280 votes. So
never going to happen.
Yeah, and it's not even marked like under consideration or anything.
Nope, not going to happen. And there's reasons why. There's database reasons why. It's not... whatever. So anyway, this is a way to do it. It's, big picture, it's about putting it into a shadow object, which is a lot of the ways we get around with a lot of things, but doing it sort of smartly and keeping all your data. So go read that. That's on blog.arkusinc.com. So you can go read up on that and use the discuss or whatever and post something on the bottom if you like it. And we'll make sure that the blog author will get back to you. I will make sure he does.
Blog writer?
The blog writer. Next up, two big announcements from Google. I guess we can just combine them and talk about them. One is from something that they talked about a long time ago, and one is sort of an update to something they've been doing. So the first one is they've launched Project Glass, which is the wearable computer, which Sergey has been caught on the subways wearing. They launched over, I think, Google I/O last year. They showed it off.
The video
of them using it. There's been developer versions. But now it is sort of something you can go get, or I guess pre-order.
Is so Google. It's just I didn't even realize that this is a website. Like you go to
with
it,
3 links,
right? Google.com/glass/start, and it's just a big white page,
right?
And you feel like you're on like an error screen almost. It's so Google how clean it is.
So it actually reminds me more of sort of Apple than Google,
and
but
it's totally built. The website itself is totally built for a tablet. Like if you click on some of the links and note the navigation, how it just scrolls
right
downwards. It's totally built for a tablet, which is interesting how websites are being architected.
So this is the first time we really get to see all the stuff you can do with it, and it's sort of a combination of those who don't know what Google Glass is. Let me explain it. It's a wearable eyeglass, a computer in an eyeglass that you wear, and then puts a HUD. HUD. Human something display. I don't know that one. Basically, in front of your eye. So instead of seeing a screen, you're seeing it right in front of your eye in the glass. And then since it's a wearable computer, it has things that it can do. So it can take videos, it can take pictures, it can tweet, it can do navigation, but it does this all in your eye. So and then it has really a ability to talk to it. So you can say, I think the command is go glass or get glass or hello glass or something like that, and then it will pay attention to you, and you can say take video, start video. Take a picture, show me directions, and then it will both talk to you because it's right above your ear anyway, and then it will both show you in your own little glass. So, I mean, from a concept, this is, if you read any blogs or anything, wearable computers are like the thing. Like that's it. And as someone who has watches that talk to my iPhone and stuff like that, and has done this, sometimes I really love it. Although I actually like wearing my real watch that I'm wearing now. But the concept I like.
Can I ask you some questions?
Sure, ask me questions.
Do I need an Android phone for this to work?
One of the things that's come out about it is that it will work with it will connect up to Bluetooth to your phone.
It needs an internet connection somehow.
Yes.
So my phone it doesn't.
It's your iPhone.
So there's like a Glass app or something.
Something like no,
or it can just connect and use
to
it. Just tethered.
To it.
So it just needs I can walk around with a MiFi in my pocket.
Or your phone.
My phone.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And it looks like you say, okay, Google.
It's okay, Glass.
Or okay, Glass.
Right, okay, Glass.
Okay, Glass.
And then
Google something for me.
Right, it can Google. It can do things. It can do...
Take a picture. Take a video. Picture. I want one.
It's very cool.
I want one. I just want one so I can have one.
I feel like this is... And I'm usually the first one. If this was an Apple product, I would buy it. It's a Google product, so I want version 2. I want Glass 2.0.
It's a little big. Like, it looks kind of clunky, but I kind of want one.
The idea that this thing is then listening to you and sort of it can get you and do stuff, pretty cool. Oh, it can. The last thing I think that's the coolest about it is it can show video to others of what you're looking at. So you can say, kind of like a video conference. So you can say... You
could do like a Google Hangout or something.
Kind of, but I'm showing you, you're seeing the video of what I'm looking at.
Right.
I'm seeing your reaction to it as you look at it. Kind of like when you hold an iPad up.
Because we both have them?
No, because you might be coming through some other way, but you're seeing it through you're seeing it on your computer at home, but you're seeing what I'm looking at. So if I turn my head, you're looking at me, and then I'm looking at a picture of you. I'm looking at the video of you coming back at me. So
I want one.
It is pretty cool. I'm surprised you say that because you're not usually one of those.
I'm not, but I'm really intrigued by this.
So right now, I think the only way you can get one is to you
have to apply for it.
You have to apply,
and then you get chosen.
Yeah. So I hit one up. I I did a what I would use it for, and so we'll see. I don't think I'll get chosen, but explorers will each need to reorder a Glass Explorer edition for $1,500 plus tax, attend a special pickup experience in person in New York, San Francisco lodges. So I love this. It needs to be consumerized for me more.
It's clearly not ready.
$1,500 is a lot for
you know what you could buy for $1,500?
Google Pixel.
Yeah, Chromebook Pixel.
Chromebook Pixel.
I was really trying to get you there.
Yeah, it was good. So that was the other thing they announced, which was the Pixel. It's called the Chromebook Pixel, and unlike the other Chromebooks, which I've kind of been eyeing and looking at, and I was talking to someone in the office who owned an old Chromebook, and who came in.
He had like the original Chromebook.
He came in, he bought it, and I'm like, why'd you buy that? We made fun of him. We said, I bet you can't work an entire day on it. We proved ourselves right. He couldn't, because it was it's Chrome based, so it's only browser. It's only things you can do in the Google Chrome browser. So now but that was like a $300, $400 thing. They've now released this Chromebook Pixel, which is in almost every spec for spec, like a MacBook Air. So, in terms of the processor and the RAM, and the screen's a little bit different, the size, the weight, the battery life. It is, I read
touch screen, right?
I read I didn't see touch screen, did you?
Yeah, I think so. Touch screen display.
Okay, that's interesting.
Solid state storage.
Well, yeah, but that's MacBook Air's solid state. So they almost all, except for, and it came down to and I read the review, and I read what, the good, the bad, and the ugly on it, and it sounds like it's a great little machine. Great. It's the exact same price, actually a little bit higher than a MacBook Air, which is interesting, but where it kind of shows imperfection, that's the title, is that it runs Google Chrome. It's the OS. Right. It's all about the OS. And a $1,300 device that runs
a browser,
and you can't do anything else without it. And the memory's limited. You can't even. I think.
Well, it does have this pretty cool storage package.
It comes with more Google storage,
like a terabyte of Google Drive cloud storage. It's pretty nice,
I guess.
But
but you only have 32 gigabytes on your machine, which is not a lot.
And I don't know how you, what are you storing up there? Because how do you listen or do or
download,
watch?
But then it disappears.
Download what to where, and then how
to your 32, your solid state.
But where does it run in? Where does it run in?
Well, it's not running in anything. It has to be something that runs in a browser.
Right. So I have a movie.
Yeah, that runs in a browser. QuickTime plugin.
I guess
everything does. Yeah. If you think about it, you run videos, you run whatever.
It's not the same experience still running things in browsers as it is running things on a desktop.
I think Google had a better way of going about this when they were saying it's inexpensive, and you give it to your, a college student, or you give it to the dumb sales guy, because they only need to do 6 things. But when you then make that $1,300, I want it to do the other 3,000 things other than the 6 things.
This is all about hardware, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's why do I need another $1,000 of hardware to run the browser?
I don't know.
I get why I need another $1,000 of hardware as someone who, as right now as I watch GarageBand chew up my processing power. I know why I need a browser, and I know why when I'm running Parallel, or why I need processor. When I'm running Parallels or something like that, I can see my computer legitimately take a dip. So this thing, you're running a browser. Why do I need all this? Why do I need another $1,000 worth of hardware underneath my browser? I guess the question.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, my iPad Mini runs a browser pretty well.
Yeah. I don't know. It's an interesting one. I was more intrigued by the original Chromebook, because a $300 device you have to have around, you give it to your kid or a college student, or you have a bunch of them sitting in your office. So if we had an experience the other day, one of the colleagues' MacBooks died or needed help, and they did it within the day, but he still, that was good. They fixed it within from 8 in the morning till 5 at night, but you still need something at that point. And so I said,
you need to rent a rec.
I said, well, what happens if I'd had a Google Chromebook sitting here and you just had that? He said, that'd be great, but I couldn't. I could do email, I could do Salesforce, but I couldn't have done any of the other stuff I was really working on.
Right. No hardcore data work.
So at that point, we talked about, should you just throw a Mac Mini around and have it connected to one of these monitors, so on and so forth. Anyway, So again, I'm interested. I'm more thinking from a marketing, but why would you release them both at the same time? It always feels like, why don't you have them spaced out a little bit so they get a little traction? Because everybody's paying attention to one or the other. Next up, I think this one's an interesting one. We can talk about it because I do have an opinion on this, as I'm sure you do. This is an article on ZDNet called "Consumers Don't Like Tweeting Customer Service."
Don't like using social media for customer service.
Sorry. Consumers, that was my take on it. Consumers don't like using media for customer service. And it's interesting because more and more, we see the Twitter things and all this sort of integration with customer service inside of Twitter and Facebook. And it's always like the dream, it's so cheap and you can do it so easily and it scales so well. The reality is, and we do customer service for our apps that we, free apps, free customer service. And we set up Twitter on it. And the reality is I don't think people take to doing stuff, although I've tried it. I feel like if you have an email, I'm going email first.
Yeah. Let me give some examples.
All right, you go ahead.
So I've used social media and Twitter in particular, to draw attention to issues that I've already raised through the quote-unquote traditional customer service channels. So I've already emailed customer service, or I've already had a phone call and they have a ticket in or something, and I feel like they're dragging. So I might complain about it on Twitter, and that gets their attention. And then I've gotten replies back, and then you can take it to the direct message,
right.
And then you go back and forth a little bit more privately than in public. Like, instead of airing the dirty laundry, it
right.
just goes to direct message instead of email, which to me is fine. It's whatever. It's the same at that point, just less words. But the idea is, I've already got this ticket open, fix it. The other way that where I'll say social media has helped with customer service is indirectly with certain companies. And I'm going to pick on Salesforce a little bit here.
Okay.
And I don't mean to pick on Salesforce, and I certainly don't mean to pick on Salesforce customer service, because there's some good friends of mine who I know who listen to this podcast who work in Salesforce customer service and do a darn good job at it and are really good.
Yep.
But you only get those really great, really good people when you're at a certain level. And sometimes basic Salesforce support for basic Salesforce questions isn't the greatest. And using social media, you actually get the wisdom of the community at large. So if you do Ask Force and then ask a simple question about why something isn't working, or has anybody had this problem or that problem, you are going to get an answer. And it might not be from Salesforce. It might not. But it might be from somebody else who's just, trolling through Ask Force. Or if you go to the Salesforce Answers community, which is a social space, and ask a question, you're liable to get an answer back that's more meaningful and useful to you than if you were to ask Salesforce support. Like, these are basic things. Like, why is this formula not working? Or what feature do I need to turn on in order for this to work, or that? If something's like completely busted and broken and you need someone to be on the back end and do something, that's a different story. You still have to go through the traditional channels. But
yeah, I agree. I find that I use Twitter, and I don't use Facebook for support at all, because
No, I would never use Facebook for support.
Twitter's
I want
public,
to use Twitter.
And the reason I would do it is really to be a bit of a jerk and be like,
same as me.
I'm now so frustrated because I've tried to go through other channels. I've done this with AT&T. I've done it with Verizon.
I've done it with TiVo.
Done it with Delta. Done it with RCN. So I've gone to those places and said, and now a couple of them like RCN, Delta, AT&T, I think all actually tried to solve my issue on Twitter. But again, I went. Oh, and I think my wife used JetBlue once to kind of lambast. But what is so frustrating is they always take it as this big win. Like, I see these come back. It's like, oh, look, our Twitter is so good, and our Twitter support is so good. And what I always say, and even Salesforce came back the other day and said, has your issue been resolved? I'm like, no. The case was open for 4 days and no one responded. Sorry, that's the truth. So I love that they're on the Twitter. I just don't understand why they don't put the time, all the time and energy you're putting into answering my tweets. How about putting it into the case itself? because I already gave you the case, and I shouldn't have to go say things on Twitter to get you to respond off Twitter, I guess the question is. And so I know why it happens, because it makes them look bad, makes all the companies look bad if you're lambasting them in a public place, as opposed to that case where no one can pay attention, no one else can see it. But to me, that seems very, very backwards. And I know a lot of companies, I mentioned them, by name before. I mean, Rackspace has some of the most amazing support I've ever seen in my entire life, and I'll talk about that on Twitter. But I don't need to, I don't need to go anywhere else. I put in a ticket with them; they will answer within 11 minutes. I told you the one story where I put in them to go do something on my server, and not only did they answer in 11 minutes, they had done the work, logged in and done work in my server in 11 minutes flat.
Yeah, they're very good.
Right. As opposed to other places that it's 4 days later and it's a 2-day business turnaround, and it's 4 days later and I've got no response. To me, that's like, what's broken in that I'm getting no response 4 days later? Like, don't tell me it's 2 days if it's going to be 4 days. So I feel like they put all the new shiny money into the new, we got this new Twitter command center. It's like, yeah, but you've left these other guys who are actually doing the real support with the cases, you've left them understaffed and without the knowledge. And you've put it over here, and you've almost taken, hey, let's take our best guys from support and put them over on Twitter. It's like, no, put those guys back so they can actually do the cases, because I'd rather them do it, and I'd rather people. So consumers going to like to go traditional. I know I'd rather do an email. I'd rather do a live chat quick than go on to Twitter and say something, because usually when I'm doing Twitter, it's my last resort. You're shaking your head. They can't
just
see
shaking my head. I'm, head shake.
I will tell you the Salesforce support stuff, and we love and we say, but we've been hearing a lot of problems recently, and I've been seeing a few of them. We had an issue the other day that we had to go at it from like 4 different angles to get someone to pay attention to it. And some of those angles aren't available to most people.
That's true.
It is now a known issue with 12 votes.
It's a known issue, and the status of my case is bug fix. Never seen this status before. Bug fix submitted.
Bug fix submitted. Huh.
Never seen that status before.
Speaking of
it was good to see it.
Speaking of a new status,
this has nothing to do with any status or anything.
This one actually just hit me the other day. I guess it came out this week. And when I saw the title, I thought, oh, that's interesting. Why you should ban your internal emails. And it's a blog post about using things. It's on boxfreeit.com.au. And it's basically saying how, with the use of things like Yammer and Chatter, why you should ban internal. You should or could ban internal emails and get people to use the tools. Of which I immediately thought, oh, that's cool. They're mentioning these tools like Chatter and Yammer. But then I think in the thing that I posted, a couple people tweeted back, I said, yeah, limit is good, but ban is no good. And as a big Chatter user, and we're also big into email, as most people in the world are, it's still like you don't replace one thing with the other. When the fax machine came out, we didn't all say, oh, it stopped calling and just fax. I'm not gonna call my mother for her birthday. I'm gonna fax her now. I'm not gonna call in a reservation for a movie. I'm just gonna fax it. Like, one tool doesn't necessarily mean, or one communication method doesn't mean you replace the other one. There's still usually, like, faxes still have a purpose. Not a great one. You know what faxes are very good at?
Tell me.
Security. You put a credit card number on a fax and you send it, it's a 1-to-1 ratio. There's no way it can be grabbed in the middle of the world and turned into something else. You send it via email, it can be. So there's still a good use for faxing, as I just sent in a couple contracts the other day. So anyway, it's just interesting. Thoughts on banning email?
I think it's an utterly ridiculous and headline grabby thing.
Definitely.
You cannot ban email internally. It's silly. You can't use Chatter the way you use email. We've talked about it a million times. There's no read state. There's no where did I leave off. You could totally miss messages. The technology's coming along with the bookmarking and stuff like that, but if you're out of the office for a week, forget it. Like, there's no way to know where you left off. You could totally miss very important information. There's character limits in how much you can type.
Right.
What if I really need to type something more than 1,000 characters long? I mean,
there's also communication between two people. I can send you an email, and you can send me an email.
Chatter, you can use that, Chatter messages.
I understand, but what's nice about email is if you send me an email and I want to bring in someone else, I can then bring in someone else, and then you can send it back, but we can choose how much we bring into that person. I can either forward the whole email or some of the email. Things like Chatter and Yammer, they don't allow you to sort of say what I'm going to bring them in on or not.
Right. And if you want to bring in someone from the outside to the internal conversation,
no go.
Forget it.
Right.
Because it's somewhere else. So, nice headline. Not quite there yet. Nor do I think we will ever get there. Email's so entrenched. And we came from the large company that shall remain nameless. I mean, how many emails a day would you get that were all internal? Hundreds. Just all internal. And you might say, well, that's a waste of time. And sure, some of it is. But a lot of it is that is the way that you communicate when you are a global company and you have to talk to people from around the world. And there's different time zones and there's different this and different that. And, you get groups of 13 people working on the same thing. That's how it works. It's not a chatter group. It's an email. Sorry.
Yeah. It was interesting. It just reminds me, as you started talking about that, it reminds me of sometimes you don't need to replace a tool or to undo a tool because people don't know how to use it. So to me, it's not like, oh, well, we're having problems with email, so let's replace it with Yammer or Chatter. Well, how about you just teach people how to use email? It's kind of like Salesforce. We've seen people come to us say, oh, well, we're not getting adoption and Salesforce, it's not working for us. And you go and you look and no one's logged in and no one's done anything. You're like, well, maybe we should just do some training because maybe they just don't know how to use it. And I'll tell you, I took the job at a company, my first job out of college after my year abroad, the first day, and I was the IT guy, and they sent me to a one-day thing on how to use Microsoft Word, how to use email, how to use Excel. I got out of it very quickly. I went there and I was like, yeah, I know more about email than you guys do. I set these things up. Don't teach me how to, I know the server. So they're like, yeah, you can go. But I was like, okay, well, at least they're teaching people how to use email. Boy, if they had spent an hour saying, here's best practices in email. Here's a way to look at email. Here's a way to file email. Here's a way to folder it. Here's a way to deal with email. Not that you hit a reply button, but here's a way if you get an email and you're BCC'd or you're CC'd, or when you're sending an email, what to do and not to do, how long email should be, what you should attach, what you should say in email. No more than an hour's worth of information. I feel like the whole world could do a lot better by just a quick, simple email course.
My first job out of college, when I was in college, they had a computers for business course that most people took. It was a 1.0 something course. You took it when you were a freshman or a sophomore or something, and they taught you about email and PowerPoint and basically Microsoft
the suite.
Yeah. Except not Outlook though. See, Outlook is its own beast that should be taught when you have to use Outlook, because I remember my first job out of college.
You remember your first beer?
I remember my first beer.
You say beer on the podcast.
I could. Well, last week I screwed up and said assets.
Yes, you did.
So I remember not knowing how to use Outlook, and people would send calendar invites, and I did not understand them. And I would say to somebody, let's meet next week at 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
And I would not send them a calendar invite. And
at 1 o'clock.
At 1 o'clock, we did not meet. And it was one of those things. Nobody taught me how to use Outlook or calendaring. It doesn't have to be Outlook. Nowadays, it's whatever. But just the principles around communication and the collaboration suite that you are given.
And it's not so much how. I mean, how's very important.
How is important, how to send, but also the context of why. When I say to you, let's meet next week at 1 o'clock, and you say yes, I send you a meeting invite so that it's on our calendars.
Right.
And that is a cultural thing, and that is also a technology thing. But nobody taught me that you're supposed to send someone a meeting invite when you agree on a time to meet.
Right.
I just figured, I have a calendar here, I'll just put it on my calendar. They'll be smart enough to put it on their calendar.
One of my favorite things, and this is our rat hole productivity, one of my favorite things at the company that shall not be named was that when people would just accept calendar events, you send them anything, maybe accept them, but then you go look at their calendar, like if they're your boss or something, and you see that they had, in the same time period, they had like accepted 3 calendars events. So like 1 o'clock on Tuesday.
You couldn't see what they were, but you could see that they were blocked 3 times.
But you could see that, and you could see they accepted all of them. And
because you could see the colors.
And I was always like, why are you accepting it? You cannot physically be in 3 places at one time, so why are you even accepting it? And they'd be like, oh, because I just want it on my calendar. But you're not. You said, well, if this one, I was like, you don't get calendaring, because calendaring is you can't go. If you can't go, you can't go. You can't be in 3 meetings at the same time.
Yeah, but that place was also about being in meetings.
Right. Well, most places are about being in meetings.
It was like, you were important if you were at the meeting.
Right.
So if you could get invited to 3 meetings at the same time,
and then just go to the most important one.
You just go to the most important one, or bounce from one to the other.
Oh, it's my worst.
Because hey, that's how you're important. You're at the meeting.
I really think email.
Sorry about anyone who's figured out this company.
Email etiquette, email best practices, and how to deal with email. If those were 3 half-hour courses that I could give every person in the world, I would be extremely, extremely happy. I think it would make us all much better. And then these other things would be great for collaboration where they are needed, but not banning an email anytime soon. I actually love email. I feel like we're in the golden age of email because like most people actually deal with email pretty well nowadays.
Yeah.
I feel like 10 years ago it was bad. Like people would just not respond for days. And
there are still people that are like, that don't understand reply all.
Versus reply?
Yeah. Like my mom's not very good at reply all.
She'll just reply to one.
Yeah.
I had a case the other day where someone replied with a question. It was 4 of us arranging something. And someone replied with a question that was out of context of what the email said and what I later had a conversation with that person because I was saying, you didn't read actually what was in the email because when you replied, you basically threw everybody off the trail because you replied by ignoring the fact of what the other stuff had happened. And it was like, geez, if you just read that thing, you would have seen that what you're asking doesn't make any sense. And so, reading
Are you
email.
Throwing your wife under the bus right now?
Pretty much. Oh, it turned to a good 45-minute talk.
I wish I could have been a fly on the
wall.
wall.
Oh, I'm sure you and I have had similar talks.
I really wish I could have been just sitting there on the couch.
It was no good.
Like in between you on the couch.
It was a lot of assumptions. And you get a lot of assets. You make an asset out of you of me when you make a lot of assumptions.
In the hole.
And there was some assumptions about the emails, and like none of them were true. And it threw the whole thing off, and it frustrated the whatever out of me. All right.
I really wish I could have been there.
Things that don't frustrate me.
Can you just record those from now on?
Hold on, honey. Wait a second. Justin wants to see us have a discussion.
Can you put the Google glasses on so I can watch?
Now that I could. I hope there's not a little light on the Google glasses.
Yeah.
That's it.
I'm not recording you right now, but I am.
Oh, what's that red
Justin's
light
watching.
on
It's like Big Brother, but better.
I just had a vision, and the vision was not good.
I don't even want to know.
The Google Glass porn industry is going to be huge.
It's
huge.
It's its own little sect.
Let's quit Arkus right now because Google Glass porn is going to become the next biggest thing.
No, we just started that
horrible.
as a subsidiary.
That's horrible.
Google Glass porn.
Oh, and this podcast just went off the rails. Do all Salesforce podcasts talk about Google Glass porn?
No.
Only the best ones.
Only the good ones.
All right. Speaking of good things, why don't you make a CloudFocus app pick of the week?
All right.
I'm surprised you're picking this like now.
Why? It just came out a week ago.
Oh, okay. I feel like there's been many of these.
This is the official.
This is the official one. Welcome to the welcome to 2010.
Welcome to the App Store.
This is a company that, while I love them very much,
they do what they do and they do it well,
and they
that's
do it slowly.
what they do.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Go for it.
So Basecamp is now available on the iOS, on the iPhone. So I have a couple of, here at Arkus, we are agnostic to our clients' preferences for how they, to some extent, like what they use for collaboration.
True.
Hey, if you want to collaborate in a chatter group in your org, fine. If you want to collaborate in a Google Doc, fine. If you want to just email back and forth, fine. Some of them use Basecamp. and they set us up as users in their Basecamp projects. And that's how they want to communicate.
And I love our clients.
And I love our clients too.
But I hate Basecamp.
Yeah, Basecamp has
I don't hate
It's
Basecamp.
a glorified... To me, it's like...
It's a glorified email
glorified email
group.
With, and like a forum. And then it has some to-dos and a calendar. That's it to me. There's got to be more to it, but I don't think there is. But whatever.
Yeah.
A couple of our clients use it, and I'm in a couple of projects.
Right.
So it was brought to my attention that this came out very recently, and it is free for the app, at least. I don't know how much Basecamp costs because I don't pay for it. They just invite me into their projects.
It's free to invite people to use. You pay. It's one of the nice things actually about Basecamp is that. So if you don't know Basecamp is a project management light collaboration environment. So it's meant for tasks, calendar, to do, milestones, comments, files. But one of the nice things about it, I used to have a Basecamp account, and I used to run projects out of it. Is that you, as the person who pays for it, it's basically unlimited. You can invite as many people in.
So these people aren't paying for me.
They're not
paying
for
their
you.
Basecamp. All right, cool. Well, that's good. At least they're not, paying for me to get into their Basecamp. I thought they were, but that's good that they're not. So anyway, there's a mobile version now, and it's got pretty much all the things that you would see in the browser. You just open it up on your phone. You click into the project because it recognizes via your login which project you want to go into. You click into the project and you see all the messages and the to-dos, and you can reply and do all that stuff. And it's nice to have it's nice to have it on the mobile because a lot of the times you get this email from Basecamp,
right?
And like to reply to it, like there's no context because it doesn't have the whole thread. It just has that comment.
Yeah.
So I want to see like all the ones that happened before, so that I can comment with some sort of context in mind. And it's nice to be able to be like, you know what, I'll pop into it instead of looking in my mail app on the phone. I'll just jump into the actual Basecamp app and do the work there. So it's now available. Go grab it. Kind of funny. 97% customer recommended. They put that on their own website. Kind of funny.
So, I mean, I've been a Basecamp user for 4 or 5 years now.
We've read the book, isn't that?
Rework.
Rework, right?
They've written a couple. But yes, Rework, Jason Fried.
Right. So 37 Signals.
They also do High Rise, a CRM product. So
you can find this at basecamp.com/mobile.
Great.
And they also, this is for the iOS, so you can get it in the App Store. And then there's, no iPhone, no problem. You can use it on the browser on those other Windows Phone, Android.
They have a good, because for a while there was an API and they let a lot of developers. So I owned a couple of the ones that other developers had developed.
This one's theirs.
Yeah. So
I'm picking theirs.
Good. I'm picking something that I'm picking a little bit off the trail because I don't usually pick things that are sort of beta. But I'm picking something because I signed up for something like 6 months ago, and I finally got the invite, and so I've been using it the last couple of days, and so I'm gonna pick it. So remember when I've talked about Aero TV? Remember I talked about
Absolutely, and I laughed at you.
Yes, and I made a pick of it, and I actually signed up. I was in their beta for like a year and a half. And then I actually, I think I paid for it. I paid for a year of Aero TV.
You still have it, right?
I still have it.
How often do you use it?
I use it like so infrequently, but whenever I use it, I'm so happy I have it. It's like when I need to have that second TV.
It's like insurance.
It kind of is. And it was like $80 for the year. So like once I paid for it, I've just forgotten about it. But then whenever I'm using it, I don't have to go, because that's the thing is when you want to use it, you're like, oh, I want that. Oh,
this is gonna bring me down a rat hole.
Yeah, pretty much. But anyway,
when you get into your pick, I'm gonna ask you a question.
Okay, so let's just talk about what Aero TV is, because it's very cool. What they did is they put a whole bunch of they created a whole bunch of little tiny transceivers, receptors, antennas, HD antennas, and to get around the law that you can't rebroadcast TV, public TV, they put them in New York, and then you basically rent them. So I have a tiny one, has 2 HD receivers, and antennas, and I can then let's see, how do I explain this? I can then tune into those using a device, so either iPad, iPhone, computer, and it has DVRing, so it has 40 hours of DVR, and I can tune in and watch live TV or things I've recorded before, and I can do it from anywhere because it's in the cloud. And it's actually hosted in New York City, and they're building out to the rest of the country. They got sued. They won the lawsuit. Interesting. So another company's picked up. So that wasn't my pick. I picked that a long time ago. Another couple has picked up saying, we can do one better. Because the limitation of that was whatever's over the air. So HD... So
that's why I wasn't so interested.
Right, because you're like, the things I want to watch.
I don't care about CBS or NBC or ABC.
We do for two purposes.
Well,
One is football, and the other is like community and things like that. There might be shows that you might watch.
There are shows, but I don't need this extra service.
Right.
I have cable, and I can TiVo up to 4 channels at a time, so I don't need this thing.
So obviously you can watch it anywhere, not just at home. You had a Slingbox at one point.
I did have a Slingbox way back.
That was kind of cool.
That was really cool.
So up comes a new service called Nimble TV. I signed up for the beta. I actually forgot about it. I got the invite the other day. Welcome.
I can't wait for my invite.
Sign up. And so what Nimble TV is the same concept, except for you're now subscribing to a cable service somewhere. In fact, it looks like mine's from Austin, Texas, because it has Austin Community.
It asks you where.
Didn't ask me.
In your settings, like I now have a profile.
Yeah.
I don't have an account though.
Yeah. Well, let me go ahead and you ask your question and talk about it. But anyway, you sign up for it. It's beta. They haven't really talked about the pricing yet. We don't really know what it is. But in essence, it's what Aero TV is, but you can watch it anywhere. It's to shift from anywhere you want, and it's then full cable. So all these HD channels like History, ESPN, and then full DVRing. So if you wanted to watch SportsCenter but not be anywhere that you have a cable, or if you wanted to watch, record a whole bunch of stuff, but then they're calling it like a DVR in the cloud. In a lot of ways, that's what it is. You can watch TV, you can stream it to yourself, stream it to many devices. It works. It's just a web.
Does it AirPlay?
It does AirPlay. I tried that yesterday. And so anyway, I got it. I signed up for it. You had to give a credit card to be in the beta. They said, we're not going to charge you, but just in case, whatever. I was like, whatever. I don't even care. So I signed up for it, and I was using it last night.
Whatever. Here's the Arkus card.
Yeah, here's the Arkus card. And it's kind of interesting. So it literally... It's a nice interface. It kind of makes it, again, it's all web. It's not an app.
It's not an app.
Not an app. And you basically run it through your browser, and you can, watch TV both live, and I've recorded a couple things. I haven't tried the DVR going back, and it streams it to you. You got to have a good connection, otherwise it'll catch up. But I watched like an hour and a half of ESPN yesterday just to see it. Had it sitting next to me on my iPad mini, sitting next to me while I was doing stuff, and just watching ESPN and seeing, like, does it keep up? Does it stop? And I had like a good hour and a half of just good TV. Turned my iPad mini into a full cable TV, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
So questions.
Well, I was actually going to go down a rat hole. We're at the end of the podcast, so if you don't want to listen to the rat hole, you can
see you next week.
See you later.
Yeah.
And it's about streaming television and whatnot. Have you heard of the show House of Cards?
Yes, I have.
Have you started watching it?
No, I've heard of it.
So this is the second show. I believe it's the second one. There might have been more, but this is the most, I think, highly publicized one that is Netflix released.
Yeah,
Netflix only. They've had one that I knew of. There might have been one before. Right. And I know Arrested Development's coming.
I know Hulu did this too. Hulu created a whole bunch of series that are just on Hulu.
Yeah, so this is just on Netflix.
Yep.
And it's got Kevin Spacey in it, which is kind of a big actor. I'm going to watch it eventually, and I found it interesting that, like, I was asking the little lady, because she's into these things, like, she wants to watch it too, and I was like, I wonder, like, on its release date, what is released?
Well, we asked this question. You asked this question the last time. You're
the whole series. It was awesome.
The whole series.
The whole series. I was like, I went to look, so I was like, oh, it's out. We could watch it. Should we start watching it? And I go and I'm like, we don't have to start watching it because the whole series is out. We can kind of watch it whenever we want. Like, I wanted the whole series. That way I can, if I really like it, I can just power through it.
Right.
As opposed to having to wait a week and then another week.
It's the only way I watch TV
week.
anymore. I don't watch TV live anymore. I mean,
I've got a friend who's kind of like a Luddite in this respect because, you know, we were chatting yesterday, like group texting, and someone said something about Sons of Anarchy.
Yep.
Like how their bar is like scary looking, or like it reminds them of something. And I was like, oh yeah, that bar is pretty, like the hangout is pretty gnarly or whatever. Yeah. And one of the guys goes, oh, you guys watch that? I wanted to watch that, but I missed out on it. Oh well. And I'm like, he just didn't get it. I'm like, you didn't miss anything. I didn't watch it when it's on. I've never watched it when it was on. Just watch it somewhere else.
Right.
He's like, I don't do that. I can't keep up with all the things I watch. I can't go back and watch something that isn't on now. And I'm like, you are not living in the same world.
Wow.
Like, what are you missing? Like, at the water cooler talk? Like, what why do you have to, like, that doesn't exist.
Well, it's interesting because Golden Age, I call this the Golden Age of TV.
It is. It's the best programming that I think has ever been on.
Better than movies.
It really is. The dramas, the hour-long stuff. If you're into reality garbage, that's great.
There's a lot of it.
There's a lot of it. I mean, there's tons of it.
There's 4 different
There's
Storage
really
Wars.
interesting stuff on
3.
like the Discovery Channel and history and like really interesting type of shows.
Yep.
Like I find these redneck shows really interesting. Like the
Duck
Dynasty.
You have no discerning taste, by the way.
No,
I
find
anything.
Duck Dynasty very interesting.
You have a lot of time on your hands.
I do, but like
you should have children. All that
and the fact that you can watch it anywhere at any time and just put it off and sling it somewhere and stream it somewhere and it's really great. And now with the apps, and you could AirPlay it to your TV. Like I did that with HBO Go the other day. I pulled up something on my phone and boom, now it's playing in HD on a 42-inch screen. I'm like, oh wow, this is really good. Like I can't wait to watch Band of Brothers.
Oh, Band of Brothers is great.
Yeah, and I'm gonna watch it now because now I can watch it on my big TV.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna AirPlay it from my phone up to the TV.
That's crazy. But I will say, I was talking to someone the other day, and I don't know how we got into a TV rat hole.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah, it happens.
You can turn this off now. We're done.
Off.
We're done.
At the end, I'm just gonna give you the Salesforce tips that'll save you $1 million.
Yeah.
But you can turn off now.
Coupons.
But someone was saying that they still had to watch something. I think it was Walking Dead. They still had to watch it week to week.
I like watching Walking Dead
because because at the office people still talked about it, and I was like, I have not heard of that in like 5 years. Nobody I know would even remotely say to me what's going on.
You ask first. It is.
Yeah, where are you?
Email etiquette.
Yeah,
it's television etiquette. Hey, where are you in the season?
That's right.
Or have you started the season? Oh, you haven't? Okay, forget it.
Right.
You know,
did you watch it last night?
Our partner, who shall remain nameless, although I think we named him already, he just finished season 3 of The Wire, and as you know, I've watched the whole series about 8 times.
That is just
so
it's
like
a fact I would not put out into the
like,
universe.
I know like every season by heart, like the whole thing.
It's wrong.
It's not wrong. It's
wrong.
So right.
No.
Everyone should watch The Wire.
You've spent like 250 hours watching The Wire.
You know how much
is
you
wrong.
could learn about life by watching The Wire over and over again?
Sounds like a blog post. Anyway.
It might be. So he just finished season 3.
Right.
So like I can now talk to him about things that happened in season 3.
Right.
And you know, he's just keeping me abreast of where he's at, and he's back. He's like back into hooked on it. And now that you can AirPlay it from his phone to his TV, he's been watching it more and more and more. Right. So because now he can watch it with HBO Go.
So yeah, it's an amazing thing. I will say,
and anyone who hasn't watched The Wire like 4 or 5 times is just not. There's something wrong with you.
I keep a list because everybody mentioned these things. I keep a list in Evernote of TV shows that people mention to me that I'm like, I need to watch, and I put on that list when someone says, "Hey, you got to watch this." I wait till like the 3rd time. It's like you say, "Oh, you know," and then I'll hear someone else, and as soon as someone else says you have to watch it, I'm like, "All right," and I go put it on the list. And then when the wife and I are sitting around thinking about what to watch next, we're like, you know, like. Right now, Justified is halfway through the season, so we're not watching it because we're waiting for it to finish.
I'm keeping up week to week on Justified.
And Vikings hasn't started yet, and Game of Thrones hasn't started yet. So we have this like area where like, what should we watch now? And so then I go to my list. I'm like, oh, the latest season of I on HBO. This should be an HBO. HBO should sponsor this podcast.
HBO Go.
Of Boardwalk Empire.
Right.
Which is the season 3 is. Oh, we're watching it now in like a little period of time. It is great. It is absolutely great. I love it. I love TV now. I love everything streaming. Nimble TV bring it back. Now you can record all this stuff, and so I'm going to try it. Again, I think this would be more of those who want to cut the cord. You really want to cut the cord with your cable. This might be a $30 or whatever, but then you can literally get the thing you couldn't get before, which was live sports on ESPN. Right, you can now get that and put it on your TV. So this is a cord cutter, right? This
is better than, because there's the app. There's the Watch ESPN app.
Right.
And I used to be able to use it because my old cable provider was a part of it, and now I can't use it. And that really, really bothered me.
And this now you can. All right, so we'll move off to other things. Anyway, whew, that's a lot. That's pick of the week. So Nimble TV for free. Sign up for the beta. Well, it's free now, but I'm sure it'll be paid. Or they'll be sued, and then it'll go away. But it's coming. We're busting through here. So remember to go to blog.arkusinc.com to read all the blog posts and all the podcasts. Remember to go to iTunes, subscribe. Remember to follow us at Just Edelstein and Jason M. Atwood, as well as Arkus Inc., both on Twitter and Facebook. We're in the Dreamforce portal, which Dreamforce is, we've been hearing some Dreamforce rumors coming up, so that's cool. It's going to happen November next year. We'll be there. And until next week, we'll be back with another podcast, CloudFocus Weekly. And as always, right before then, we'll have to say, enjoy those cloudy days.